We're talking to TaraTigerBrown, who's got a very interesting new outfit called KitHub, Creative Electronics for Young Innovators. It's kind of a Kit of the Month club. I would describe you as a Maker Ed activist. I, I, I
I love
first
that.
I first met Tara when she was tech director of the DML, Digital Media and Learning Research Hub. And as I've become more interested in Maker Ed and Maker Learning, I learned that you were the founder, one of the founders of LA Makerspace in 2013. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, your interests? I know you are a mother of a maker as well, in making and learning about electronics and coding as essential education for kids these days.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Howard. Well, I mean, I've personally always been, I guess, a maker. I mean, I think back when I was young, it was like tinkering or, just fixing stuff, DIY. That was the family I grew up with in Canada, in Vancouver. We were all about fixing things. And early on, my parents, they bought me and my brothers a PC Junior, and we were really into gaming. And but in order for us to get tips and cheats and stuff, we had to figure out how to get onto a bulletin board service. And so that was really actually my foray into just like figuring out how to get things done based on my interests. I had to figure out, dial up on a modem and figure out how to get to a BBS and all this other stuff. And that's when I really got hooked. So I went on to, in college, I went to British Columbia Institute of Technology. My first job was as a system administrator / mail administrator, website, fixer, all this kind of stuff. And so that's just from there, I moved on to Microsoft and different tech startups and so forth. In 2009, my husband and a few other people, they opened up Crash Space, which was the first hacker space in Los Angeles. And that was really, when I started to think about our son's, schooling, because he was born around that time. And, and if you're in Los Angeles, you have to start thinking about where your kid's going to school in utero. So that's when I started to investigate. And I discovered that all of our shop classes are getting closed in California and I think in other states across the country. And I was devastated to hear this because I loved shop class in high school. And I didn't understand how kids were going to learn how to make anything. So that's when I got more involved in thinking about, maker spaces. They're sort of really starting to come into their own then. And I also discovered that hacker spaces in the traditional sense are very much more adult oriented. They're not safe, quote unquote. There might be wires and, burning things everywhere. So I wrote a blog post and, put it out there and said, I want a kid-friendly hacker space in LA. Is anybody else into this? And I got an overwhelming response. And so that's really how the LA Makerspace, started out, was just because there was a bunch of other people that recognized there was a need for this. So that was, I think in 2000, I want to say 11 or 2012 that we're really starting to think about it, and we put on workshops and so forth. And it was around that time too that I started working with Mimi Ito at the DML Research Hub, and really starting to understand interest-driven learning, connected learning, and understanding the research side of it. So I felt like I was getting this really great toolbox of both the sort of academics thinking behind what I was doing, in the maker world. So fast forward a little bit, in this past year, I've been thinking about what do I want to do next? I've been working at the DML Research Hub for a while and, doing some other nonprofit work. And I thought, well, where am I seeing some gaps? And what I really was thinking about was, well, when in the makerspace, every time we put on a workshop, we have to collect all the materials and the tools and everything else that you need every single time, right? And it was something that could be repeated And then I started to think, well, there's a lot of kids out there that don't have access to a makerspace, you know, wherever it is that they're living across the US. So why don't we package up all the things that go into, say, a workshop into a box and send it out to kids? And my co-founder, Luz Rivas, she founded DIY Girls, which is sort of like a makerspace for Latina girls in the Valley, specifically at the elementary school where she grew up. And she was really facing the same, you know, issues in terms of just like, okay, I have to keep doing this sort of over and over again for every workshop I was doing. So we realized that this was a need that we had both in our community spaces, and we also discovered that a lot of other people thought it was a good idea too. And so we started KitHub November 9th of 2014, so just a couple of months ago. We sent out our first box, which is the Simple Electronics Kit, which allows you to do 3 different activities. One of them is to create what we call a bot. So here's the bot. And you may recognize this if you've done any making activities. Sometimes it's called an art bot, but essentially it's a hobby motor with a battery, and you turn it on and it vibrates, if I can get, and it basically moves around a table, and you can do a lot of extra things to it. So you can add markers to it and put it on a piece of paper, and it'll draw, or sponges, or you don't even have to use this cup. You can use, you know, whatever body you want for your bot. But it's like a really great way to introduce kids to just like, you know, what a circuit is and how to turn on a motor. Because surprisingly, a lot of people are just like, I don't know how to turn on this motor. You know, there's a motor and there's wires, and what do I do next, right? So it's just, I think it's a confidence builder in terms of getting people to think about that. And we call it creative electronics because we believe it's STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math, not STEM, that there's that art component is really important. So sort of kind of lets your creativity go. So one of our other activities is actually how to make a circuit out of a pipe cleaner. So you can make this like really cool circuit out of, you know, something that's already kind of cute and fun and fuzzy. And so it just seems, a lot of people think of it as more accessible because, you know, you're using art supplies that maybe you're already familiar with, and then you're just kind of going that next step and adding some interactivity. So we ship these kits out every month. We have one that we're shipping out today, our January kit, which is focused on paper circuits. And, you know, we're excited because we're taking a lot of things we already know in the different workshops we've already put on at our spaces. And we're also working with other people co-designing kits. So one of them is going to be a conservation tech kit with Shah Selby, who's a National Geographic explorer and a Boeing rocket scientist. So that's going to be a fun kit. And then it's all very interest-driven learning. So there's like music kits and animals and all sorts of fun things.
Well, I know that.
So that's where we're at.
I know that you've just gotten started, but have you heard from kids and parents yet about their experiences with KitHub?
We have. Our very first subscriber, Thomas and his dad, Brian, they created a video to show the unboxing of the very first kit that was sent out and the different bots that they made. And in fact, Thomas made a World of Warcraft bot, which I've not seen before anywhere. So I was really excited that, you know, he took, you know, it was all about imagination for him. He didn't just build what, you know, we subscribed or prescribed. And he said it was the first time that he's ever done a project like that. And that was really, like, that was it for me. He's like, okay, you know, our very first subscriber said that he's really excited about this and he's never done it before. And that's like, it's so motivating because you never know, like you're taking this risk when you have a startup and you think that people are going to love it, but you're not totally sure. And also I think that for Luz and I, we've been doing this long enough that we've lost sight of what's exciting anymore because, you know, we've made about, I can make a bot in 30 seconds now, right? So you just kind of like, I don't know, is this still cool? But clearly it is.
What do you have planned coming up for future kits?
Well, today we're going to let people know that our February kit is games. So in that kit, there's going to be different sensors and a buzzer, and the activities will include like making your own operation game and a couple others. So we're really excited about that one. I'm personally not a gamer, like a board game type person, so I'm excited to see what everybody else comes up with.
The kits are fairly inexpensive, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much
Yeah.
how much does it cost on average for a kit?
They're $19.99 plus shipping and handling. And I also want to mention we have classroom kits. So we don't really advertise that very much, but we do have classroom kits for educators, both informal and formal.
Okay, so in regard to classrooms, I know it's maybe a little redundant for people like you and I who are really into it, but I think the argument still needs to be made about why are we teaching kids to make stuff out of pipe cleaners and batteries in classrooms, other
Mm-hmm.
than, well, electronics might be a good skill to have get a job in the future.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think a lot of kids, even adults, they read a lot of the textbooks, the theory around like how these things work, but they never apply it, right? And I've encountered that actually quite a lot with adults. It's like, okay, I get that a circuit is like, think about a circle. That makes sense to me, but until they're actually building it, I don't think that, things really click for them. And then I think that also it allows for sort of more sort of creative thinking when they're getting like it's something that they can touch and hold, and then they're just allowed to sort of expand their thinking around these different concepts. And like in school, like again, when I was taking shop class, it was very empowering to know that I can, create something out of metal or wood, and then it's not just somebody that has, some special degree that's capable of doing this, but I can do it too. And now, like with the internet, I mean, you can go and learn everything that somebody that goes and gets, an electrical engineer degree can, right? I mean, there's MOOCs, there's like lots of resources out there. You can do it too. And I think that just knowing that it's not some magic wizardly thing that can happen it's really cool.
What advice do you have to people who want to start maker spaces out where they are about?
Oh, I get asked that question a lot. Well, I think that really one of the most important things is that the community really drives what the activities are, because it is interest driven learning that's really motivates a lot of people to work on their projects. So one example I love is learning to program, right? I mean, if you're just like, okay, learn to program, a lot of people don't finish, an exercise because they don't know how it can be used. Like, it's just like, well, what is the purpose of this, right? So if you have a project in mind, then typically you're more motivated to finish it. So for example, a lot of kids like Minecraft. So when you can tell kids, hey, you can automate some of the tasks that you do in Minecraft by learning like scripting, like the Lua scripting or JavaScript. They're like, are you kidding me? Like, I can build something faster. I don't have to manually like build up this wall. Like, you're really excited. Or saying like, hey, you can 3D print one of those things you made in Minecraft, but you got to learn a little Python so you can convert that file into an STL file so that you can go print it. They're like, I'm in, right? So, it's examples like that, like thinking about like asking the kids, asking the community members, what is it that you want to learn? And then starting with that, because they're going to show up, and, just letting it sort of organically evolve.
Wonderful. I know that you've got some activities you got to get to soon, but I appreciate this a lot, and I know that others will. Thank you.
Well, and that's Luz back there. She can
come on up and say hi. Hi, Luz.
Hi. You can't hear because of it.
Okay.
Yeah, we have our Q&A show, so we're going to go and get ready for that.
Okay, great. So take care, and thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Howard.